In today's show, it's time for another mock draft, a category league, 9 category with 10 teams. Michael Bolton, don't know if he's going to be in the draft, but he's definitely going to be here watching.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me, as always, on Twitter at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. As I said, mock draft today. I'm going to be drafting with Matt Smith. So Matt's going to be on discussing all of our picks, his picks, my picks, your picks in this 10-team, 9-category league, 9-category head-to-head mock draft. We will have, for those of you asking, salary cap / auction drafts. They will be coming. There will be deeper league drafts. They will be coming. There will be rotisserie drafts. They will be coming. So many more mock drafts. I've got at least 5 or 6 more planned. They're going to be on the channel. There might be even more than that. But stay tuned. Tomorrow we're going to do the last team preview show as well. Golden State Warriors coming up tomorrow. But guys, this might be a familiar problem to you. It's the situation where you've got one thing to watch your live sports. You watch your live shows, your on-demand shows in another spot. You've got your highlights on your phone. You've got your neighbors log in for something else. It's too much. Is this too much stuff going all over the place? I want to tell you about a simple way to get that entertainment that you love all in the one place without the hassle to get your TV together. It is called Direct TV Stream. It brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together in one place like never before. So you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and TV shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there is no contract, no annual contract. Wow. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with Direct TV Stream. Check it out at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required and content varies by package. All right, so let's get ready for this mock draft and bring in the man who is going to be mock drafting with me, and that is, of course, the one and only Matt Smith. Matt Smith, welcome back to the show. Let's play a little music thing here.
Smitty.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Josh. Good to be back on, and this time for a mock draft.
Yes, mock draft. I don't know the last time that we did a mock draft live on the show together. I don't think it was last year. It's been a while.
It has been a while. I can't remember either, and I haven't done a live draft so far this season. I've just done an offline draft, so this is going to be very interesting.
We're doing a 10-team, 9-category league. Matt, you are picking at 10. I am picking at 9. So some pretty shitty spots for us there, but that's a bit of a challenge, and we're going back-to-back as well. So just some interesting discussions that we can have around these players. This is like the third mock draft that I've set up today because I screwed up the other two, and I tried to set up a category league draft, and then somehow it was points leagues on Yahoo, and then I figured out too late and couldn't change the draft. Then I tried to do it on Fantrax and set the draft time in the past, so had to go for it a third time, but we are doing this one on Fantrax. We've got a 10-team, 9-category league. We are picking at 9 and 10. We've almost got the draft room full at the moment. We're waiting just for a couple of people to get in there before we start this out. So it's been a bit of a mess from a technical side. So hopefully the actual broadcasting of this show and the draft itself goes off without a hitch. I'm just making sure to turn the noise off on the Fantrax draft because, Matt, we all know that is like an absolute air raid siren. So that's going off on my end, so you don't hear that. We're prepared for this draft. What are you thinking about at pick 10? Like, how shit is that of a spot to be picking at?
I mean, it's not great. I would have preferred a top 5 pick, and you've stitched us up there by giving us pick 9 and 10 so we can snipe each other all the way through the draft.
Exactly.
So I'm hoping that you go with a heavy punt strategy, so you pick some of the players that I don't want or need. But in terms of players, I mean, Bradley Beal and Paul George are the two sort of standouts there. If a Jason Tatum or Kevin Durant or maybe Luka Doncic fall, they'll definitely be in the mix as well. So we'll see how the first round plays out and take it from there.
Yeah, so we've got like a minute and a bit to go here. We may pause this broadcast as I wait for other people to jump in the draft. We're waiting on 2 people to arrive into this draft, and if necessary, we'll pause that just to get them in. I don't want people auto drafting during this draft, but yeah, I'm not sure there's going to be really any heavy punt guys there at number 9 for me, because I'm imagining it's going to be a selection for me between Tatum, Embiid, Beal. That'll be my 3 guys that I reckon, selecting from at that area, assuming the top 8 goes as expected, but you never know. You might find someone that falls. I highly doubt it, but we will see. We will see how that goes. Now I'm just waiting for the bloke who's at pick number 2 to come in, so we'll pause that if he's not there in the next 45 seconds. Jakey, who I believe was almost the first guy to jump into this draft, and now he's the last one to arrive. So let's see now. I see Fantrax has adjusted their pre-draft order. When they used to have Vooch at number 4, you can draft via, or the auto order is by ADP now, so that's a little bit more than having, I think, Terry Rozier at 10 and Vooch at 4 is the last situation looked on Fantrax in their pre-draft ranking, so you could have got stuck with a real stinker of a pick there at that point. So I'm just waiting here as we're ready to count down. Let's bring in the mock draft screen now so people can see what we're dealing with here as I get ready to pause this draft as I wait for Jakey to come in. And I think if he's not there here, we'll just... all right, let's pause this draft. All right. So I've just paused that, and I'll just go and get this guy replaced because he hasn't turned up. We'll be back in a sec. All right, we're in. We've got a full draft room now ready to go. Let's unpause this draft and let's kick things off. Diddy Kong is picking at number 1. I'll just tell people where we are going. I'll type in that box. All right, so Diddy Kong at pick number 1. Do you reckon there's going to be any draft where Jokic doesn't go at 1?
I wouldn't have thought so, and he's just gone off the board at 1 there. So, standout number 1 player last year, and I still think it's pretty difficult to make a case for anybody else to pick 1 this season. I know we've had discussions around James Harden, Steph Curry in particular, but for me, it's still Nikola Jokic at 1.
I'll say I won't be surprised if he doesn't finish the year at number 1. I could see Harden, I could see Towns, I could see Curry, I could see probably not Durant, but I could see him falling back a little bit, or someone, because at this time last year, Matt, or before the season, Jokic wasn't nowhere even considered a top 3 guy. Like that wasn't a discussion, and he came out of nowhere to grab that number 1 spot. So it's no guarantee that he's going to do this again.
There's no guarantees at all, and I think last season he was probably sort of that 6 to 8 range, and then had a massive season. I mean, on a per game value, Kevin Durant could easily, if Kyrie Irving gets injured or someone like that, but. Still waiting for pick 2 to happen here. He's about to get timed out, I think.
He just jumped in and then he got timed out.
I know, Luka at 2.
Nah, he got timed out. It was auto pick. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening with that. Aiden, what are you doing? You just jumped in. You were there and you didn't make the pick. My guy. I know Aiden listens to every show. Didn't make the selection. Anyway, he gets Luka Doncic. That's what happens if you screw up. Hate Luka Doncic at number 2 in a category league. I know you love Luka, but you don't love him there, I'm guessing, Matt.
No, I don't love him there. I would have taken James Harden, who just went at 3. Steph Curry's probably the other person there, and I know you like Giannis at 3 in a head-to-head league.
Yeah, I don't mind taking Giannis anywhere in that top 4 zone. So yeah, we go Jokic, Doncic, Harden, Curry. That Doncic one was a weird auto draft. I think otherwise those picks have gone as expected. JS is here now, ready for his or her selection, and they go with Karl Anthony Towns, which is totally fine, I think, at that area. So now got people dropping in and out. This is the way, taking Yanni. Everything's sort of going as we expect at this point. I've got to get ready because it is coming up to my pick. Shout out to Jack, who's decided to name my team Hyperhidrosis after I put a contest out on the YouTube page for people to guess or to suggest team names for me. So I'm called Hyperhidrosis, and that is. Oh, turn that bastard off!
Sorry, that might have been me.
Oh, for fuck's sake! My God! All right. I think what happened is because the page refreshed, it automatically defaults back to making your ears blow out. So let's go with Jace Tatum here at number 9. That's what I'm gonna do. Yep, that's my pick. Now, Matt, you've got 2. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, so Lillard, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, all off the board. So I think that's pretty much the consensus top 8 or 9. As I mentioned off the top, Bradley Beal and Paul George are still available. So it'll be Bradley Beal. So lock him in there at the shooting guard. And then Joel Embiid's there, Trae Young, LeBron. I'm just reading off the top of the Frantrack Sports, so LeBron shouldn't go that early. But yeah, I think Paul George is probably the next best player, so we'll take Bradley Beal and Paul George at the turn on a 10-team league.
Yeah, it's a great get to get 10 and 11, Paul George and Bradley Beal. Now, my picks here, I think it has to be, I think I have to take Embiid at this spot. Like on a per-game basis, he'll smash this number. It's just about whether he stays healthy, and I don't have too many worries about Tatum staying healthy. So let's just do it. Let's take Joel Embiid there. And if he plays 70+, it's not a league-winning move, but it's not far off. But yeah, the chance of that happening may not be particularly high, Matt.
No, I think that's the best pick there. And to pair him with Jason Tatum is a really nice duo. Minimal risk. But yeah, plenty of upside, like you said, and Kyrie Irving, the next man off the board.
Yeah, people shit on Kyrie all the time, and I hate the personal attacks on Kyrie. People know that about me, that I think it's just completely unfounded. But yeah, I can't trust him. Matt, he was 11th in totals last season. Like, he was, and he missed however many games that he missed, 15 games or whatever. So the bloke's really good, and on some sites, he was like, ESPN's got him ranked at 29th, which there is absolutely no explanation for unless you are in a points league. He's not as good, but in a category league, if you're letting him slide to the third round, I think you're drafting very, very badly.
You are, and like you said, top 12 in total value. But at the end of the day, in head-to-head legs, if he's not playing, he's not playing. So it doesn't help you, which, yeah, can be a big impact, especially in the final part of the season. Anthony Davis off the board at pick 14. So this is where it starts to get really interesting in that middle of the second round with a few point guards. Trae Young, Fred VanVleet is still there as well, and Trae Young off the board at 15.
Yeah, the Trae Young one's interesting. Obviously, he took a bit of a step back last year. At some point, given the nature of the shooter that he is, Jimmy Butler goes next at number 16. The nature of the shooter is we expect Trae to actually start hitting his threes at a really high level. It just hasn't happened yet. We know how dangerous he is, but it's mainly because of volume and depth and the pull-up nature and contested nature. But for fantasy, like, he doesn't hit them at a high percentage. I think at some point that has to come around. It's very much the Devin Booker issue, Matt, where he's thought of as this great three-point shooter, but has never really had a great three-point shooting season. So I think
he hasn't. Yeah, I still love Trae Young there in the second round. There, the elite points, the elite assists in particular. Yeah. Extremely difficult to find later on in drafts. Good free throw percentage as well. I still love Trae and think he's a really solid second round pick.
Yeah, so do I. I'm pretty, look, even despite where he's ranked last season, and I think and another reason why I just consistently will suggest, and I know you'll agree with this, mate. When if you look at rankings and value with turnovers on, he was like 40th last year. And that is a clear example of why, valuing someone with turnovers on as a category is just going to lead you into real trouble. Like, because you're not valuing Trae Young as the 40th best player. It just isn't realistic, and it isn't actually representative of what his contribution is to a fantasy basketball team.
No, definitely not. And the same with Luka Doncic. I think he was a fair way down as well in 9-cat league. So please, whatever you're doing, turn off turnovers. So we're looking at 8 category rankings. If you want to know why we still need turnovers as that 9th category, I wrote an article about that on basketballmonster.com a few weeks back about why I still think turnovers is the best 9th category we have. But in terms of rankings and projections, please use 8 category.
Yep, exactly. Let's see. So after Jimmy Butler at 16, we went to Fred VanVleet at 17, which I love. Zion at 18. Nikola Vucevic at 19, and then Domantas Sabonis wraps it up at number 20. There's nothing really super controversial here. I think some people will look at Zion and go, that's too high. But again, if you don't worry about his free throws, it's great because everything else is really good. The high field goals percentage, the high points, which is super hard to get later on. Those 2 categories alone, you put Zion right up there. He is a little bit lacking in some other areas, but I think his assists are going to go up this year. So do you have a problem with Zion in round 2?
Yes, I do. I think you are giving up overall value. I think Nikola Vucevic, Sabonis, Shea. I mean, Bam's still on the board. I definitely would have taken Bam over Zion. As you know, I hate punting and punting strategy. So I think, taking Zion there for a massive increase in field goal percentage, and he's basically a 2-cap player, I think that could lead some teams into a difficult situation.
If you don't know how to manage it, look, if you put yourself into that wrong spot or you don't know what you're doing with that, then it can be a problem. But I think if you're switched on, you're getting especially if you compare a Zion with Yanni from the first round. Like, I think that sets you up pretty nicely because both of those guys get you above average assists for that position too, which I think is something that's really key if you are looking at a punt free throw. I think you've got to be able to get that above average assist numbers in. Otherwise, you're going to lead yourself down a track where you're just missing a bunch of stats that you might be needing later on that can be hard to find. But those two guys, you know, they could average 5 assists each, maybe 6 for Giannis, and I think that's a decent start in that area. Whereas if you're basing your team around a Rudy Gobert in that area, like you're lacking a lot of different stats there.
Just see that Bam Adebayo has fallen to 23. I really like him in the middle of the second round, so I think that's some excellent value there. Rudy Gobert's just gone off the board as well. Josh, we're coming up to your second bit. Talk us through some of the players that you're eyeing off here.
To be honest, I've just been talking about what's been happening and I haven't even looked at what I'm going to be doing, but let's go into it now. Okay, so I think I'm going to need...
It's your pick now, by the way.
Shit. All right, so we're on here. All right, so who just went? LaMelo Ball, Donovan Mitchell, Zach LaVine. Well, they're the three guys that are actually at the top of my list, so we're not going to be taking them quite obviously. This is where things get difficult. I think what I'm going to do is... Yeah, let's do this. Maybe it's a bit of a reach at pick 29.
Don't do it.
Let's go with Maga Porter Jr.
Okay, that'll do.
All right, so I'm very interested to see what you wanted to do, or you didn't want me to do at that pick. So what are you thinking?
Okay, so I've got Beal and George. I'd still would really like an elite point guard with some strong assists. I know who I want now. I don't know who I want with my second pick, so I'm just going to take a little bit of time to see who's still available. Actually, I know who I'm going to pick now. I thought you were going to take De'Aaron Fox.
I was going to. I was debating it.
Yeah, so I'm going to take De'Aaron Fox at pick 30. Maybe slightly early, but he's not going to come back to me at pick 50 or whatever my next pick is.
No, he is not.
The next pick is probably need to start looking at some big man stats, and I think there's probably one player here. I'm just going to scroll down to make sure I haven't missed anybody. But the one player I think who will help me build on the categories in the all-round team that I'm building is going to be DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, I think that's about the right spot for Ayton. What are we at? 31. It's a big step up from where he was last season, but I think we all expect him to be better than he was last season, at least to some degree. What do I need to do with my team now? I've got no guards. So I need to get one of those. Maybe we get... Yeah, let's do that. Let's get your mate, Devin Booker, and go back-to-back Suns at that spot. Get myself a guard. Again, Booker was pretty disappointing last year, but we are not banking on Chris Paul missing 2 games, which is what he did last season. So that will give a bit of a boost to Booker. And again, he's not coming back to me at the next spot and just getting some really high elite-level scoring to really help. Yeah, obviously, I've got good scorers already, but you can't get good scorers later. So if you build yourself up with a big amount of scoring early, then you can focus on some other areas later on because you can't find 25 point per game scorers at pick 60.
Yeah, and not only do you have good scoring, but incredible efficiency there as well with Booker, Tatum, Michael Porter, and Joel Embiid. So, I mean, now, Josh, you've got a really nice foundation in both field goal and free throw, and you can start to maybe take a little bit of hit in those categories and build around some of the counting stats as you work throughout the draft.
Yeah, well, my team's free throws at the moment are projecting to over 85% on pretty high volume, so I can afford to take some guys who shoot 70, 71% if there's one of those guys that I want to get in there. To help boost my blocks or something like that, then I can afford to do that now because I've built up this big foundation. Because points and free throws and high volume free throw guys is what you need early on. Just recapping the next 2 picks, Chris Paul went, so we went 3 Suns in a row. Wow, don't know how often that'll happen. And then Brandon Ingram goes at pick number 34. Really hard to debate. Yeah, really the merits of many of these picks in terms of like, oh, that's a shit pick. Like, what are you doing? Everything feels like it's pretty much on track at the moment, Matt.
Yeah, it does. So we're up to pick 35. Still some really nice value on the board. Jaylen Brown, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday there as well. So plenty to choose from.
Brown's an interesting one here. I think he should start to go in the next 2-3 picks, I would say. Like I wouldn't be letting him, if I was any of these blokes, fall outside the top 40. And there goes OG Anunoby, which... Matt, we stress this a lot. There goes Jalen at 36. We stress this a lot with OGs. Like the value's there. We think he's going to get some usage, but it's so dependent on steals. And if they drop by 0.2 or 0.3, then 20 spots go off his ranking number. So I probably wouldn't have. I love OG. I think he's great. I wouldn't have taken him there.
I wouldn't have taken him there either. I would have taken, Brown, Holiday, Chris Middleton. Probably those three in particular are the standout players left on the board. I would have taken those three over OG as well. Anthony Edwards off the board at 37.
Probably a little early.
Yep.
I would have got him next round, though. I wouldn't have let him get... I won't let him get outside the top 50 in most spots, but that's probably a bit early. But I'm not completely against Goose going at that spot. It's just, it feels a little, again, with the guys on the board, we can say Jalen's gone now, so that's fine. But Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, these guys are still around, and I think I would have preferred those players to taking him. I've got a question for you. I love throwing random things at you, Matt. Over the second half of last season, Draymond Green ranked where?
I know it was high because I read your article, Josh, which is always a good thing to do. Was it like top 20 or top 25?
Let's say over the last 39 games, so basically the last half of last season, he was the 17th ranked player in fantasy in category leagues. And
Not bad.
that's like that. It's a pretty good effort because they started playing him more at centre because Wiseman went down. They also realised that Draymond's a much better centre than what James Wiseman is. But that's ridiculous. Now, you don't have to draft him anywhere near there. He's pushing to 50s and 60s in some spots, in some drafts. I don't expect him to do what he did the second half of last year, but he did what he did, and he was really good for 40 games. And he started last season with COVID and an injury and was really slow for the first 10 to 15 games and then absolutely fired up. So... interesting. Russell Westbrook and Ben Simmons goes there. How are you avoiding Simmons?
I am, and I was just going to say, speaking of ridiculous, picking Ben Simmons at 39 is way too early for a number of reasons. Particularly, Chris Middleton is still on the board. I'm not sure what he's done wrong. Drew Holiday has just come off the board at pick 40. I don't get that pick at all.
The Simmons one, I think, and I've said this a lot of times, I don't know what team he goes to that it's a worse situation than where he currently is. Like, I don't really see where that situation is. So we expect... He had 3 top 20 fantasy seasons in a row for points leagues, and I think for category leagues it was close enough to that anyway, especially if you're punting free throws. But I guess the problem you have is, does he actually sit out time to begin the season? I guess I don't think that's going to happen, but it is a possibility. And I think you could have waited another round to get Simmons there, but I don't see any situation that he's traded to that's worse than where he currently is, Matt.
Golden State Warriors? Is that worse? That's not a good fit, surely.
Maybe it's worse. The Green Simmons combination maybe doesn't work particularly. I don't think the Warriors are really in on that at all. But maybe that is one. Okay, so Drew Holiday goes at 40. Clint Capella goes at 41. Capella was amazing last season. Really, really strong. Let's see what Aiden's doing here. Aiden, he's already let one auto draft, and he's letting that one draft wide out. Christian Wood, do you like... Okay, well, let's talk about this as we wait for my pick. John Wall news out of Houston. My thoughts are that, obviously Green, Porter, Wood, Tate all get significant boosts. How far do you think that boosts those guys up?
So I do like Kevin Porter Jr. now. He was one who I was a little bit not sure about, but...
Let's be honest, he wasn't good when he played with John Wall last season. He couldn't find his groove. Like, he didn't know what to do, really, playing off John Wall, and now that's not a problem.
He didn't, but he has been out of the league for a while, so maybe that was a bit of rust and getting used to it and getting back into shape and into the NBA system as well. His projections come out really nicely apart from the efficiency, so I think that bumps him up a couple of rounds. I might have no problem taking Christian Wood now in that sort of 40 range. I think that's about fair. I think it's spread, across the 5 or 6 players with the Rockets. They all get a little bit of a bump, though, one player in particular.
Yeah, I think that they're all getting... I think, your Tate gets a 20-spot bump, and Green probably gets a similar one, and Porter probably gets a 20 to 30-spot bump, and Wood maybe gets like a 10-spot bump. All those sort of guys just move up with the absence of Johnny Wall. Just recapping the last few picks. After Christian Wood, it was Tobias Harris at number 43. Chris Middleton finally at 44. I believe he was the 30th ranked player last year. I guess some people are factoring in Olympic fatigue there. Johnny Collins goes at 45. Probably a little bit early for me, and Rashawn Holmes at 46. Now, Dame Time has said wow in the chat. Do you reckon he's saying wow for Holmes going that early or Collins going that early?
I think probably Collins going that early. I'd have no issue with Rashawn Holmes going in this area. A couple of other strong centres on the board who I'm eyeing off, but I think, yeah, that was in relation to John Collins, who probably should fall outside of the top 50.
Yeah, I think so too. Jaron Jackson goes off the board now. It's coming up to my pick now, so I'm just going to hunker down and have a think about what I'm going to do here. Do I... Oh, I don't know how ballsy I want to go with my pick. How ballsy do we get here? This is...
What type of player are you looking for?
I think I want a centre.
Okay.
I know I've got Embiid as a centre, but I want to get a second one in here. I'm just wondering how aggressive we get with it. You know what? Let's. I'm not going to play the ADP game or anything like that. I'm going to just go. Screw you guys. Do I do it? Oh man, it's tough. Let's scroll down this list.
It's only a mock draft, Josh. Come on.
Let's do it. All right, let's go. Yusuf Nurkic off the board to me at 49. I think he can beat that number pretty easily. And 49's not spending a huge amount for Nurk.
No, perfect. He was a player who I was eyeing off as well. So we're up to pick 50. So I've got Fox, Beal, Paul George, DeAndre Ayton. Looking for maybe to fill out another guard and definitely need another big. I am going to take Deontay Murray is interesting. And people ask a question all the time is, can we have players or two or three players who are on the same team? And my answer is definitely yes, no issue with that at all. So I'm going to take Tyrese Halliburton to round out a guard slot. And the fact that I've got Fox and Halliburton doesn't concern me at all.
Shouldn't concern anyone. Do you have okay, so if you've got 5 guys from one team, maybe. But 2, 3, I got no problem with it. It doesn't mean the negative things that people think that it means.
No, it doesn't. Okay, the next player, I'm going to need some elite blocks, I think, to help out DeAndre Ayton. Round 5 is about right for this guy, Josh, I reckon.
Do not do it.
I'm going to do it, and that is Robert Williams.
Fuck you. Oh, fuck. All right. If you didn't know, I did want to get Robert Williams there, just in case you couldn't tell by that reaction. I did want Rob. That is shit. Oh man.
So
right.
Jonas Valanciunas was another choice there, but I think for me, him and DeAndre Ayton are just a little bit too similar. Just need someone to, like I said, provide me a few more defensive stats. I think my scoring is pretty good early, so I can maybe take that impact with Robert Williams. Deontay Murray still on the board. Actually, Kristaps Porzingis is now fallen to 52. Yeah, he's not off the board yet, but Josh is an option there as well. DeMar DeRozan is still there. Lonzo Ball.
Porzingis is not falling past 52 because that was my backup option. So there he goes. Porzingis off the board at 52, and that is he's helping my blocks there, obviously, but giving me a bit of a boost in threes as well. I wanted Williams because I wanted to get my field goal percentage up a little bit higher, but unfortunately that was taken from me. But we'll look at someone else later on in that spot that I've got a backup there. Now I do need guards, as people can see. I'm going pretty big heavy at this point, but that's fine. I've got some guards later on that I'm going to be looking at in this draft. So yeah, that was annoying. When I was talking about Nurkic before, and I was saying, yeah, do I reach for it? I was Nurkic or Rob Williams. They were my 2 options there, and I went, all right, I don't think Matt's going to take Rob Williams. I think he might be a little bit worried about his free throw percentage. He might let him fall, but no, you screwed me. You screwed me, and that's fine.
And if you'd taken Rob Williams, I probably would have taken Nurkic as well. And as long as they're both fit and healthy, I don't think it's going to matter.
Nah, I don't think so. I would like to get both of them, but yeah, I'm happy with that pick. All right, so after I took Porzingis, we got Nam the Man goes with Lonzo Ball, which he says it's a bit of a panic pick. At 53, there's nothing wrong with Lonzo Ball at 53. I think it's pretty good. And then DeJounte goes at 54. And there's really hard to criticize most of these picks, Matt. Everyone's been pretty on with most of them. I think we missed Miles Turner going at 48 there as well, but yeah, nothing really wrong with any of those selections, to be honest. I think they're all working out pretty well for people.
Yep, no, I'm liking the way this draft is going, and it's pretty similar to some of the other mocks, and pretty similar to how I think a really competitive league would look.
Yeah, exactly. It's only a mock, of course, but it is looking pretty competitive. I reckon it might be time for me to throw in throw in a word from my sponsors because they need to be heard from. Guys, the best tasting protein bar ever. It is Built Bar because they've got the amazing flavors right across the board. On Built Bar, raspberry, strawberry, caramel, salted caramel, cookies and cream, whatever your favorite flavor is, I'm sure Built Bar is going to have that there for you. So go and get yourself a box of your favorite flavors. And while you're doing that, they're a delicious treat, but they're also healthy. 130 to 180 calories, 17 to 18 grams of protein, 4 to 5 grams of net carbs, and 4 to 5 grams of sugar per bar. These are the bars that are serving those dual functions of being good for you and also being delicious. So get a Built Bar, get a box, and use the promo code LOCKED15, and you can save 15% off. So go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and you can save 15%. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar ever. All right, who went off the board there? Pascal. Oh, okay. Well, my guys, Derek White. Oh, Jesus. CJ McCollum. Yeah, that's fine. It's probably a little early for me with CJ. Pascal Siakam. Hate going him that early with the injury, but I think on a per-game basis, he'll beat that. And then Karis LeVert goes at 58. What's your thought on Siakam, who's probably going to miss at least the first month of the season? I would be looking... Now, in my last mock, he fell to like 91 or something, and I got him there. I think 57's a little bit too high for me.
Yep, I agree. I'd ideally like to get him probably in that 80 to 100 range. I don't think it's going to happen, as we've just seen there. But that doesn't concern me at all. Just leaves other players on the board who we can snap up soon.
Yep, exactly. So where are we at here? Ja Morant goes at 59. Not sure I'm... Yeah, look, 59 is not bad. You are banking on, obviously, like a 60-spot increase from where he was last season. I think he's going to increase a fair bit, but I'm not... I think I'll end up with Ja Morant on 0 teams this year just because he'll end up getting drafted ahead of where I want to in most cases, Matt.
Yep, and I tend to agree. I think people might look at him early in particular for those lead assists and maybe the name value and the flashy value, and see him on the highlight reel and he looks really good, but we do know that his fantasy game does have a few holes and he needs to work on those, and steals and threes in particular for a guard. So, I think there's probably a couple of other guards on the board who I would have taken before Ja Morant, and we'll see if they come off the board soon. And there's one, D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, I probably would take D'Angelo. D'Angelo's got that problem with his knee, which has been like an ongoing thing for him. If D'Angelo Russell was to head to Philadelphia in a trade for Ben Simmons, do you think that helps his value?
Helps his value. I don't know if it...
I think it does, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, then what, he's got Harris, Embiid, passing to what?
Versus Towns and Edwards.
Towns and Edwards.
All right, so
yeah.
Embiid's pretty high usage, but Towns and Edwards, I think, are better ball handlers than what Embiid and Harris are. And they're going to have more of that, of assists and creating than what Embiid and Toby do. So he's going to have that little bit of bump in playmaking. And I think usage-wise, Edwards, and you throw Malik Beasley in there as well. Or Beasley maybe comes across in the trade, who knows. But I think that usage is actually it could be actually a smidge higher for him in Philadelphia, because Harris can slot into a lower role, whereas Edwards and Towns are going to be pushing way up, I think.
Yeah, potentially, but then what does that do for his field goal? I mean, if that comes up into the mid 40s, then but I think for Russell, it's just about staying healthy and getting some continuity in his game and in his body. Jonas Valanciunas at 62 or 61, Gordon Hayward at 62. I really like Jonas Valanciunas there. Like I said, I considered him with my previous pick in the early 50s.
My worry with JV is when I was talking to Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans, he was like, I'm not sure that he plays like more than 25 a night. And if he doesn't, then that is a risk. Now, he can still do this in 25 a night, but he goes, they're going to see a lot of Zion at center, and you're going to see a lot of them trying to get Jackson Hayes in there too. So I'm a little, and because Valanciunas is expiring, is not a part of their future necessarily at this point. They want Hayes to be that guy. That he doesn't think that they're going to push him to the 28, 29, 30 that he played last season, which is a little bit of a worry, I think. Yeah,
that is definitely a concern. Darius Garland just went to pick 63. Really like him, and he's one who I definitely would have taken above Ja Morant.
I think I would have as well. He was better than him last season. I think I would have too. Morant scoring, assists, great, but low volume threes, low volume steals, poor rebounder, poor free throw shooter, poor field goal shooter. There's just too many negatives, and they can all improve, but expecting them all to improve at once is probably where the problem is. Malcolm Brogdon, And then Mikal Bridges goes there. I think that's probably the right spot for both those guys. A lot of people will reach inside the top 50, top 40 for Brogdon, especially given the TJ Warren news. And you want to talk, a guy that gets injured quite a bit. Brogdon's one of those. I'm just not, under Rick Carlisle especially, I just don't know how he's going to, how it's going to fit as long as a full season of Karis LeVert, the slowdown of pace on that team. I'm probably thinking that he's going to be worse than he was last season, Brogo.
Yeah, I think so as well. And the lack of steals and defensive numbers in particular really drag his overall value down. We're sitting at pick 66. We're coming up to your next pick soon, Josh. What else are you eyeing off here?
Well, we talked about it earlier, the guy that was top 20 for the last half of the season. Draymond Green's still sitting there, and we're at pick 66. Now, I don't know if he necessarily fits what I want to do, because I probably do want to get a guard. But why is he still there? It's pretty crazy to me that he is falling this far. I think I do want a guard here. So I'm looking at probably DeMar DeRozan. Wouldn't be out of the realms of my possibilities to consider Kemba or Kyle Lowry there. Do I look at, or maybe this? Yeah, maybe. Ooh.
You love your scoring and points, don't you?
Unless I'm punting it, you just got to get it early. Like you just have to get it early, and that's why I'm going to consider this guy, because after these guys, it's so like not only do you can't get high scoring players, you can't get average scoring players. Like they start ending up averaging 11 points, 12 points when an average guy is 17, and that's why I'm going to go with this pick, the guy that's sitting at the top of that draft queue, and he is a guard, and it's Colin Sexton, because he could average 24 very easily. And I think he fits what I'm trying to do. I'm not really focusing on assists too much. So Colin Sexton comes to me there. Probably should have gone with a DeRozan, but I'm not really sure. He might just take a complete usage backseat in Chicago, which I'm not sure about. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm probably going to take DeRozan. I just want to talk about pick 67, which was Isaiah Stewart. I reckon that was awesome value there. Would have loved for him to fall to me at 70 and have Isaiah Stewart and Robin Williams. That's going to really give you a strong foundation in blocks and field goal percentage. But I think at pick 70, DeMar DeRozan is just too much value there to turn down, so I'll take him.
I tend to agree with that. I probably should have taken him, to be honest, and then hoped that... Would Sexton have come back to me at whatever it was, 72?
Probably.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, it didn't...
This next pick is a tough one. I do like Draymond Green. I do like Kyle Lowry as well there. Is there anyone I'm missing? I just want to make sure there's no one obvious on the board who I haven't overlooked.
I can't believe Draymond's fallen this far. Like, he doesn't really fit what I'm doing, but Jesus Christ, like, this is... I know he's ranked 72 on Fantrax, and maybe he doesn't fit what you're trying to do either, but Jesus, the guy's good.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to take him. Looking Draymond Green, power forward, DeMar DeRozan. So maybe they complement each other a little bit there. DeMar DeRozan's scoring, makes up for what Draymond Green's steals make up for what DeMar DeRozan doesn't give you either. So I don't mind that pairing.
No, look, I think you should be pretty happy with that pairing. What am I going to do here? I think... let's...
This is a really tough area to draft, I reckon. There's no real standouts.
I don't want to take a big hit in my field goal, so Kemba Walker was going to be my pick, but I'm not going to go that way. I think Kyle Lowry can be less negatively impactful, and I need to get another guard, so let's just take Kyle Lowry there. I don't love it. I'm not feeling particularly good about that selection, but I was sort of up in the air about what I wanted to do there. And I'm not 100% sure with that, but Kemba was my other option. But I think Lowry at 72, like, let's be honest, Lowry could easily be a top 40 guy. He probably won't be, much like Draymond could be a top 30 guy. They probably won't be, but they could easily be that, and you're feeling pretty safe that this is probably floor value for them too.
Yeah, like I said, really tough area. This
is an interesting one to me, Matt. Just sorry to interrupt. 73 is Jeremy Grant. I don't know that I love it.
I don't love it at all. I mean, Buddy Hield is still sitting there.
Kevin Porter is in play here.
Well, I'm hoping he falls to meet my next pick, but he was one I was going to mention as well. I think this is the perfect time for Kevin Porter, particularly if you need some assists.
Bogdanovich and Pirtle, they were the next two guys that I wanted.
Bogdanovic, Jakob Pertl at 75.
Yeah, I was hoping to get him back
And
at
we,
whatever my next
and we
pick
mentioned
is.
this. We mentioned this with the tiers as well. That big drop off in bigs as well. So going from like your Robert Williams, Yusuf Nurkic area down to Isaiah Stewart, and then down to Jakob Pertl, just a massive drop off. So make sure you get a big or two in that 45 to 60 range.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to get that Nurkic Williams combination. Ended up with Nurkic Porzingis there because I was hoping to get Pirtle back at my next pick, which is like 89, I think. That was where I was hoping he would fall, but no, someone's really jumped ahead and they've thought, shit, I need a center and there's not much left. And then you're left with like taking flyers on, or maybe Jarrett Allen, or you're looking at a last pick of a James Wiseman, perhaps. So it does fall off pretty simple. Well, there goes Allen now anyway at 76, which is too early for me. But this is the center squeeze, Matt. If you don't get it, like you got to reach for these guys because otherwise you go, shit, I've got to get a center. And if I don't know what JS's team is like, if I bring it up on the screen, maybe we'll have a look. Oh, he had Towns, Gobert, and Allen. So he's just loading up on bigs there. Yeah, he probably could have waited. That's too early for me for Allen.
It is. You're breaking up a little bit there, Josh. So I'm not 100% sure what you said, but I know you mentioned Jarrett Allen, and that was what I was talking about. I mean, then you start to panic and think, shit, I do need a centre. Who's the next one on the board? And it's probably is Jarrett Allen, but instead of getting him at 100, you have to take him inside the top 80. So that's why you really need to get a couple of really good bigs early on.
Yes, that is exactly what I was saying, Matt. So thank you for reading my mind despite not being able to hear me. All right, it's time for me to tell you that football season is back and all eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back to start another football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for pro and college football action this season with a new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests. BetOnline.ag continues to be the number one source for everything football. So head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 100% welcome bonus. That's double your initial deposit just for signing up. Don't forget, use that promo code NFL100. Football, basketball, boxing, and right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, so which picks did I miss out on there? After Jarrett Allen, it was Kemba Walker, Andy Wiggins, and then Kevin Porter, which is it was an auto pick there for Jake Goo, which is actually Aiden. Don't know why he auto picked again, but I think he must have had a Q set because that is a pretty strong pick to get Porter there. And then Boucher, who is a guy that I've seen people, Matt, go like, oh, we want to take him inside the top 50. He could get there, but he's going to need 27 minutes a night regularly to do it, and I don't believe he will do that.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. So I don't think there's any chance that Chris Boucher or Boucher will be inside the top 50. Kevin Porter at pick 80 or 79, 80. Perfect spot to grab him right there.
The thing that I think that it does appear that this is going to happen. I think it's on October 1st, I believe, that the rumor is that the Mavericks and the Raptors will be executing a deal that sends Moses Brown along with, I think, maybe Dwight Powell and Jalen Brunson for Goran Dragic to Toronto, because that's the first date that Brown's deal can be aggregated with other players after he was traded in the offseason. So just that's the rumor that Raptors people are expecting to happen, and Mavericks people as well, that they're just assuming that this is a done deal. So just watch for that one, that another center like Moses Brown could be headed to Toronto in that scenario. Not to say that it's happened, but that is the expectation around people that I've spoken to.
Interesting. RJ Barrett off the board at 81.
What do you think of RJ Barrett at 81? Yeah, does that make a lot of sense?
I don't like that pick. Obviously, Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier coming over there into the New York. Marcus Smart. He was the one that I was hoping would fall a little bit further, but a pick 82. Really like that pick as well.
Yeah, that's a really, really strong selection to get Marcus Smart in that area. Now, the center problem is a real issue here for me when coming up to my pick, which we are a few picks away from. I don't know exactly what I'm going to... Am I going to have to do that? This is where it becomes a problem. I might have to do that, and that is risky.
And once again, you can see, like in a league where everyone's switched on and know what they're doing, people are having to reach, maybe a round or a round and a half early, and Kemba Walker, Jarrett Allen, Kevin Porter, Marcus Smart, Alexander Walker went off the board at 85. Maybe in another league you can get him outside the 100, but now he's going early just because people want these guys, and the board does look quite bare. There's no standout player, so I don't have a problem with these guys reaching for guys they want.
Yeah, and it's also important. John Isaac goes there at 86. It's important to note that people will be like, "Oh, I have to get this guy in a draft," but you got to be flexible. You got to be pretty nimble, because if these guys start getting picked early, and you go, "Well, I've only got this small group of guys that I really have to get," then you end up eliminating value of those guys. You've got to understand who every player is and what value every player has, and finding the guys that slip through the cracks rather than being focused on these are the guys I absolutely must have. Because if you've got 5 guys you must have in the last 10 rounds, and then 4 of them all go in one round, and then you reach for a guy and you get him 30 spots ahead of where you would have hoped to have gotten him, then the value is gone. And just saying, well, I've got that guy, he's going to be the breakout, but did you actually get any value off it? You got to understand everyone and where they sit and what their value is, and looking for the guys that fall through those cracks rather than being hyper-focused on certain players. Like some people might be with Alexander Walker, and I don't hate that pick of Nickeil Alexander-Walker at 83. I think it's totally fine, but some people will go and go, I've got to get Alexander Walker. He's a big breakout guy, and he's my last guy left on the list, so I've got to get him now, because he might not come back to me he might not be there at 100. And I'll generally say that there's risk associated with getting him there. But if you don't get him, it's not the end of the world. There are other NBA players who you can get in that spot, and that's not to say that this guy's doing it with Alexander Walker. But you've got to understand that there's value for everybody at the right spot and in the right situation. Now it is my pick, Matt. You can talk about whatever I was ranting about as I work out what I'm going to do.
Yeah, so Norm Powell went to 88, Buddy Hield at 87, Jonathan Isaac at 86. As you said, Josh, you're on the board now. I'm next. I've got 4 or 5 players in my queue. Once again, still don't love anybody in this range. Plenty of different types of players, but really difficult selections coming up.
All right, Jesus Christ. I don't like this pick, but let's do it. Mitch Robinson. I just needed some field goal percentage, and I needed some blocks, and he was one of the guys that was on the board there for me. I don't love it, but Jesus, I just needed those numbers. And we talk about centers falling off. He could be shithouse this year. I got no idea, but I needed to take that risk with him there, I think.
And Mitch Robinson says, "I'll take it from here."
I bloody hope so. All right, your pick.
Jeez, this is getting ugly.
It's not an easy draft.
It's not. It's a really good draft. It's making us work. Lucky you used your sweat block this morning, Josh. That's all I can say.
Oh, exactly.
I don't love this pick, but I think at pick 90, I'm going to play a bit of a long-term game here and take Jalen Green.
No, I like it. I like it.
I think, once again, maybe a slow start, but should get plenty of minutes with the Rockets. And like I said, thinking a bit longer term, I've got enough top-end talent who I think can carry me early on. The next pick, I'm probably just going to play a little bit safe. One guy who won't jump up into probably the top 60 or 70, but I don't think he will fall too far out the top 100. Still a bit of a question mark around his role and how many minutes, but hopefully an increased season, and that's PJ Washington.
All right, well, I guess that forces my hand then, because I had 2 guys that I was going to go for, and you took one of them. All right, so I went risky with Mitchell Robinson. So I just completely lean in and go, screw this shit. Like, if this pays off, then I'm really fired up. I think that's what I'm going to do. It might be ugly, but I'm just going to trust what I think. It might not work. Now I've just got to find this guy on this list without typing his name out, because I can't be bothered. No, you know what? I'm going to have to type it out. People watching this can see it happening in real time. Let's take Daniel Gafford, and let's just hope. I want to get my blocks sorted, because if he plays 25 a night, much like if Mitchell Robinson gets his foul rate and block rate under control, if Daniel Gafford plays 25 a night, they're 2 big ifs, but they're both guys who can push into the top 60, I think. Now, Gafford might be out of the rotation if Wes Unseld's a dickhead, but he could be a dickhead. I don't know what he's like as a coach. So there's... Oh, shit. Yeah, I don't love it, but I've done it. Tell me how bad it is, Matt.
I don't mind it. I do want to I'm just looking at your team, and so you've got Colin Sexton, Booker, Lowry, Tatum, Michael Porter, Embiid, Nurkic as your core. Do you have any now reservations looking back or regrets about having maybe Embiid, Porzingis, in terms of injury, and then throwing Kyle Lowry on top of that as well?
Yeah, it's a problem for sure. And I've got Porter there as well. It is a risk, but I think I've got to look at it this way. When I'm picking at pick 9, where I am, like, it's not a great spot in the first round. I think you've got to take more of those risks, because at pick, what would I pick? Tatum at 9, but getting Embiid in that second round, you don't have that guaranteed sort of stud. Like, Tatum might not even be a top 10 player. Like, I don't know. We expect him to be, but he might not be. He hasn't been in the past. Doesn't have a proven track record. I think you've got to roll some dice when you're dealt that sort of a position. It is a risk. There's no doubt about it. But also, if it pays off and we get 70 plus from Embiid and Porzingis, then I think that pushes me way up the top of the standings.
Yeah, definitely. And I still do like that core, and that's why then you can take a bit more of a risk on Mitch Robinson and Daniel Gafford and hope that one really hits. And I mean, that's the difference from being, maybe third or fourth in a 10-team league to being first or second.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm trying to win here, and hopefully it pans out for me. Obviously, need to get a guard also here for the bench. I don't know what I'm going to do exactly with that, but some other picks off the board after Gafford went Mobley and Suggs. I would have taken Suggs ahead of Mobley, but that's fine. Spencer Dinwiddie, Evan Fournier, and Devontae Graham, followed by DeAndre Hunter. Like, no real problems with any of those picks, to be honest. They're all in that zone, and I can't look at that and go, that's horrendous. I don't love the Klay Thompson pick. I would not draft him at all. Would you?
Probably not. If I was, you'd want at least 2 IR spots, maybe even 3, but a pick 100, you're going to be waiting a good probably 2 to 3 months for Clay to come back. I haven't had a look at Jake's team to see what else he's done around that, but maybe he feels really confident with the players he's built early and that he can hang on to Clay and really start to plan for the second half of the season.
Yeah, this league I did set up with 3 injured spots, but that's beside the point. If you've got 1 injured spot, I don't think you can take him. If you've got multiple, yeah, but I wouldn't do it until the last round, to be honest. I just, again, you're 2 months from him returning to action, 2.5 months from him returning to action, and then he's going to be limited. He's probably going to miss back-to-backs all season. What do you get? 40 games out of him this season? And how good are those games going to be? I just don't think it's worth it at that spot. Again, you could convince me for round 13. At round 10, I don't think so.
What are we up to? Pick 102, Wendell Carter Jr. Has just been selected. He's one who I just added to my queue, so I like that pick there. Miles Bridges was the other one who...
Yeah, I like that Miles
just
one.
off the board.
I would have had Miles. Miles was in my queue to go.
I just want to talk to you again about the Raptors situation. So if they do trade Dragic to the Mavs and get back Jalen Brunson, how then do they work Brunson and Flynn?
Look, that's a question. I think they see Flynn as a little bit of a guy that can play off ball too, like on ball and off ball, and then have Flynn, Brunson, and Van Vliet as their 3 ball handler types that can. Van Vliet and Flynn can both play off ball too. So I think that they'd be just looking at him in that. I think Flynn is thought of to be a Van Vliet, not clone, but that's the sort of role that he can play. Playing both positions. And whereas Brunson is more of a one, strictly a one, and you would play his 20 minutes a night, and it wouldn't bode well for Flynn's upside this season. But his upside this season is not that great with Dragic here at the moment, I don't think.
And then Dragic starts next to Doncic?
Nah, I don't think so. I think they'd start Hardaway, wouldn't they?
Hardaway, and then Reggie Bullock, does he start or come off the bench?
That's a tough one. Depends what they do at the center position. Do they start Porzingis at center? Or do they put Porzingis and Kleber, Porzingis and who else have they got there? Corley Stein. I think if they trade Powell and Brown, then you're probably going to have Finney-Smith at the 4, and then you're going to have Bullock Hardaway or Dragic Hardaway. Yeah, they could start Dragic there, but I think Dragic is probably better suited to a 6th man role at this point.
Derek Favors 106, Bojan Bogdanovic 105, Kelly Olynyk before that, Dylan Brooks, Kelly Oubre Jr. Derek Favors, I know you like him early on.
I don't like him at that spot, though.
We'll get your team off to a hot start, maybe.
Yeah, I don't like him at that spot. I'd like to get him a couple of rounds later, and then, give me maybe top 100 value for the first 2-3 months of the year, and then move on. The problem is they could also just decide that they're going to just start Isaiah Roby from day one, and Favors plays a bench role. I don't think they will do that, But there is a huge possibility that they do that, and then even that beginning of the season value for him is cooked. I don't know what they're going to do with that. It is a tough one because they're notoriously tight-lipped. We'll get an idea, I guess, in the preseason as to where Favors' value lies. So while I think they start him and he gets 25 a night, 26 a night maybe, the confidence I have in that happening is non-existent.
You're on the board, Josh. What are you going to do?
Okay. What am I going to do? That is a very, very good question. I might... Yeah, let's do this. Actually. All right. All right, let's go with the flatulent one. Fartin Will Barton. I think he's going to have a pretty big role. No Jamal Murray. Healthy. Never met a shot he doesn't want to take. And he can handle the ball a little bit as well. It's maybe a little bit early for him, but I just wanted to get a scorer type in there. I had another guy that I was debating that I'll probably go with my next pick, assuming that you don't screw me.
I might try and do that again. That'd be funny. I'm going to take a little bit of an upside here with my next two picks. Can
I guess? I think you're taking Josh Giddey.
I am.
Yes.
He's definitely one of the two. So yes, I'm going to take Josh Giddey. Normally I shy away from rookies, and I've ended up with two in this mock draft. But Jalen Green at 90 and Josh Giddey at 110. Even if Giddey, 5 or 6 rebounds and assists, I do take a hit in scoring having both Josh Giddey and Draymond Green, but hopefully I've got enough scoring around them. The other one, for some upside, not a big scorer, but hopefully some defensive stats. And a 3, I'm going to take Jaden McDaniels.
Ooh, he was a guy that I was debating, and I was hoping he might slide through to the next round, which he wasn't going to. But at pick 112, I'm going to get my depressed penis on, and I'm going to take Sadiq Bey at this spot. Not sure there's a huge amount of upside, but just getting some solid 3-point shooting, some scoring in there, some okay numbers. Again, I'm not looking particularly sexy at this stage, but I think he's got a pretty solid floor in that area, and helps out what my team was lacking, I think, in that area.
Kyle Anderson has now just been selected at 113.
I think that's pretty good value for Anderson.
Yeah, I think we've got him projected around the 90 to 100 spot. So, yeah, he's probably one that's fallen a little bit.
I want to just highlight something as well, Matt, at the moment. Like, people know that I do not pay any attention to turnovers whatsoever in the draft. But at the moment, my team is projected to be the 3rd best team for turnovers. Because you don't have to focus on turnovers to be good at turnovers. My team, I turn it off when I'm drafting. It's not a part of my rankings at all, yet I am the 3rd best team and very close to being the 2nd best team for turnovers.
Where are you in assists?
I am absolutely second last.
So there you go.
And that's why. Like, if you don't get assists, your turnovers go up. It's very hard to get those two to both be good, and then you're just sacrificing pretty much every other category to do that. So this is my thought process. I can still, me punting turnovers doesn't mean I'm bad at turnovers. I'm actually really, really good at turnovers, but I'm not factoring that into any of the value when I'm drafting.
Larry Nance at 116. He's one I had in my queue. Jordan Clarkson before that, so some threes and scoring. Mo Bamba, don't mind that pick either if the minutes fall his way over Wendell Carter Jr.
If the minutes fall his way, he smashes that. I don't think he's anywhere near as good as Wendell Carter, but we just don't know what Jamal Mosley's going to think with these guys. If they play 24 a night, Bamba will be this good. I probably would have hoped to have let that slid through, but it might not get there. So I don't mind it. Again, you're taking a bit of lottery tickets at this point in round 12. We're doing 14 rounds in this one again. I think it's the fairest way for drafts to do is to have 14 rounds, Matt, so that everyone gets a chance to pick, the same amount of times at each position versus if you pick first, you get 7 spots there and 6 last. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I think 14 is the way to go. Plus, I think extending a bench is a good way to go about things as well.
Yes, I love a big bench.
After Larry Nance goes Timmy Hardaway and then Keldon Johnson. People are very high on Keldon Johnson this year, Matt. Now his value in a points league is better than in a category league. His lack of categorical versatility really, really limits what he can do. I think he will get more usage, but it's like a worse Andrew Wiggins in terms of what he does across the board in other areas.
Yeah, we spoke about him on the tier show, and just the lack of threes, steals, and blocks is just
and assists.
horrendous. Yeah, and like it comes out to like 2 or 2.2 when you combine all three categories.
It's like
just
Ryan Anderson.
horrible.
Ryan Anderson style, a lack of. I don't think Ryan Anderson had a season where he averaged less than 2 assists, steals, and blocks combined.
Yeah.
And it's just so hard to like deal with that. It's good as a categorical specialist, but that's like what you do in the last pick sort of area. So after Keldon Johnson, Thad Young, who we don't know what team he's going to play for. Spurs people are just not even bothering to assume he's playing on their team, and we don't know where he's going. And then the wild thing, Jayshawn Tate, goes to end round 12. I think he gets a significant boost with the absence of John Wall, because most likely he just moves in to be the starter now, I would guess.
I would think so as well. Yeah, so really like that pick of Jayshawn Tate at 120. What are you thinking about doing in your last couple of picks? Are you just rounding out need? Are you rounding out positions? Are you just trying to take the best player available? Are you looking for upside?
I think one of them, it'll be a bit of a swing. It'll be an upside pick. And the other one will probably be just one to sort of lock in the last bit of categorical need that I have. Maybe I need, because I've only got like 1, 2, 3, 4 guard eligible players for 3 starting spots. So maybe I need to probably get myself one more guard just to give myself games played and streaming flexibility through the week. But it's more going to be like a flyer and then probably that guard. Whether they tie in together or not remains to be seen. Jamal Murray goes at the start of the 13th round. I wouldn't be bothering to draft Jamal Murray personally. Tyler Hero, Brook Lopez, Tyler Hero, Nick Batum at 122, 123, 124. What's your thoughts on the Headmaster?
I don't think there's any real need to draft him, although once, like you said before, if we do have 3 IR spots, maybe then that's going to be a stash, but I just can't see it paying off. D'Anthony Melton at 125, really like that. Nicholas Batum before as well, but yeah, like that Melton pick.
What are you doing with TJ Warren?
I'm not drafting him either. That indefinitely tag is super scary, and yeah, in a 10 or 12 team league, I don't think there's any need to draft TJ Warren.
I'll tell you who I want here, because it doesn't matter because you're picking after me. I want Malik Beasley.
Okay.
Just because I think at the moment, of the categories that I'm really caring about, threes is my worst one. And I think he can hit 2.5 threes, even if his role is reduced. He'll still go out there and bang in threes. So he's the guy that I am looking for in that spot. Isaiah Roby, I think, is a pretty solid pick. He just went at number 126, as I talked about with him in favours. If he starts and plays 28 minutes tonight, I think he beats this number pretty easily, Roby. And there are some Thunder people who think he's not even a rotation guy moving forward, and some people think that maybe he could be their centre of the future. So it's just all up in the air with him, mate.
It is, and I was just about to add Roby to my queue, so no need to do that now. We're up to pick 127, 2 picks away from yours. Dame time is on the clock. I've still got a queue of 6 players, so we'll definitely land a couple of those. Nicholas Claxton, and then someone's just picked Kawhi Leonard, which I'm not sure why.
Yeah, well, both of those guys I have no interest in picking. I'm going to make my pick. Talk about why we're not drafting Claxton.
I just think they're going to play small, and they've got obviously LaMarcus Aldridge just come back into the fold. Blake Griffin's still there. Kevin Durant will slide over.
Paul Millsap.
I just don't think they like playing, or they're going to give Nicholas Claxton enough minutes to have any sort of value.
You make your 2 picks, and that's right. Like I like Claxton. I think he's their best defensive big man by a very, very long margin. I'd love to see them play 26 minutes a night, but with Aldridge, Griffin, who's best position for people have argued me, and for some reason I decided to argue with people on Facebook posts, which is a terrible idea. And they were like, "No, Blake Griffin, he's a power forward. So is LaMarcus Aldridge." Like, my guys, they are not. They are not power forwards in any. They were 5 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago, but they're not anymore. They really can't play. And if you play Griffin and Aldridge together, holy shit, good luck to you. Those guys are centers, and Millsap's best position these days is center. Now, I think Millsap can play at the 4 a little bit, but the fact that you've got those 3 guys who can also play center, plus Claxo, it just means that he might play 20 a night, and it's just not enough. I need 25 a night, 24 a night. He's just not. The likelihood of that happening is very, very unlikely. And then talk me through I've got 30 seconds. You talk while I work out what I'm doing.
Yeah, make your pick. So I took Jordan Poole at 130. I think he can get your team off to a hot start while they wait for Klay Thompson to come back. So some scoring, some threes, maybe some assists as well. And then I was just sort of working through my team and seeing what I needed, and I feel I'm a centre short, and in particular some rebounds. So I have taken Thomas Bryant. I know I'll be waiting on him once again. If we didn't have 2 or 3 IR spots, maybe I wouldn't have taken him. But I think if I can get my team through the first part of the season, wait for Bryant to get back, I think he complements DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, really nicely. So a little bit of a long-term pick, but also someone who fits my need as well.
Yeah, the Poole one's really interesting. It's more of a first half of the season thing until Klay comes back, whereas Bryant's the opposite. He's the second half of the season thing. Who knows what they're going to do after that. Then I went with Duncan Robinson. I just really needed to bring some threes into my team. So not necessarily high upside, but just helping what my team does. And then it was Pokusevski, great upside pick. Don't know if it's going to pan out, but who cares? Kyle Kuzma, no interest in that whatsoever. And then Killian Hayes, which again is just a pure upside, but which again I didn't go particularly high upside with that pick. For me, with Duncan Robinson, but taking a Killian Hayes or a Pokusevski, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Who cares? Reggie Jackson in that spot. I wouldn't have taken Seth Curry there, Matt. I don't see the upside in that sort of a selection for him. Again, Scotty Barnes, I think there's no way that that it's going to work. But after 2 games, you'll figure it out pretty quickly. But it's no problem with taking him there.
Yeah, and I like Reggie Jackson as well. I had him in my queue, so I think it's
a great one.
Pretty good in the rounds, and rounding out my queue as well. I had Kevin Herter in there just in case, Terrence Mann, and Markel Fultz in case I was thinking I needed a point guard. Was there anyone left in your queue?
I was thinking Joe Ingles. He was an option for me there. Al Horford was an option for me. Bobby Portis, Patrick Williams, and even LaMarcus Aldridge was in that mix for me there too. So we've got 2 picks left after Scotty Barnes, and Aiden letting the clock run down again. I mean, is he running on Australian internet? That's how bad it's going.
Let's see. So I'm just going to run through Aiden's team. So Luka obviously was the auto pick, and then Shea, Ben Simmons, Gordon Hayward, Christian Wood, Kevin Porter, Vucevic, Ja Morant, Marcus Smart. So not a bad core.
He ended up with Lou Dort with that pick, and then Shumra Kiki goes with the last pick. Again, these are guys, you can take a flyer on it. I think Lou Dort is horribly overrated for fantasy. He played 31 minutes a night last year and didn't crack the top 200. He just, and that was with that little stretch down the end where they just kept feeding him usage, and it didn't go well for his efficiency. I think he's just horribly overrated from a fantasy perspective. I love him as a defender, but the overratedness of his fantasy game is well, that's not what I want. Let's bring that screen in and bring Matt back on the screen. That'll do it, Matt, for our mock draft. I'm going to go in and just have a look at how all this projects from a projected standings point of view over on Basketball Monster. My team came out way on top. Pretty happy with that. But that's, again...
Of course it did, Josh.
Yeah, because we're using my projections. Of course I'm going to come out number 1. But I'm happy with how dominant it looks on that. It gives me a fair buffer there. Then it goes to Team Booker, JS, and then Jake, which is Aiden's team, then you, then Nam the Man, Diddy Kong, This Is The Way, Dame Time, and the certified big booty lover. He's staying down the bottom, which his name would suggest that he might enjoy. Okay, so run through your team, Matt, before we go. Tell us how that ends up looking.
Okay, so in position order, so De'Aaron Fox, then Bradley Beal, Tyrese Halliburton, Paul George, Draymond Green, Robert Williams. So that's my core. So hopefully I've got enough assists to be competitive with Fox, Beal, Halliburton, Draymond, the scoring with Beal, Fox, Paul George, DeMar DeRozan, rebounds with Ayton, Robert Williams, Paul George, good rebound as well, Bradley Beal. Maybe short on blocks with just Ayton and Robert Williams, and so that's why I took Thomas Bryant at the end. Threes, I think I'm okay in steals, maybe with Fox, Halliburton, Paul George, Draymond Green. I think my team's quite nicely well-rounded, and like I said, really like that core. Took some flyers late with Jalen Green, PJ Washington, Josh Giddey, Jaden McDaniels, Jordan Poole, and then, like I said, Thomas Bryant to sit on my bench, and hopefully I've done enough early to carry him, and then he can give me a nice run home.
So my team, we've got Colin Sexton, Devin Booker, Kyle Lowry, Jason Tatum, Maga Porter Jr., Kristaps Porzingis, Joel Embiid, Yusuf Nurkic, Mitch Robinson, Dan Gafford. So they're like my best 10 guys there. obviously pretty heavy on centers with 5 centers in that starting group. And there is absolutely some risk with having Porzingis and Embiid on the same team, and you're hoping that Gafford and Robinson can do what we think they can do. While I say there is risk there, like the way I've projected those guys out isn't crazily high. Like they could do way more than I've projected them to, but they could also do way less. So they are risky picks, but I just went for it, went all in and just said, let's see how this goes. Because if it does pan out, then it is a pretty strong team. That if, be honest, if everyone comes out best case scenario, I think it'll be tough to beat, but there's probably a 30% chance of that happening. Then my bench has Will Barton, Sadiq Bey, Malik Beasley, Duncan Robinson, because that just, again, ties into what we say all the time, Matt. You can get threes late. Like threes you can find anywhere. So if you don't have many threes early on, don't worry. You can just grab them with those last picks. There are plenty of guys available who can help you with some threes towards the end of a draft. If I have a look at how my team looks in the end, I talked about turnovers. In the end, my team was second best for turnovers behind JS's team. My team projects out to average 1.89 turnovers, and his was 1.67. So yeah, my team, again, I didn't focus on that, but yeah, I can deal with having low turnovers on that squad because my assists and steals are really, really poor, and that's how I was trying to build that team. Once I went with Tatum, that wasn't a huge focus for me, and then I tried to let everyone else go early for those point guards and let some other players slip through to me, which in a lot of mock drafts that I do, the team that finishes at the top on projected standings nearly always seems to be a team that is punting assists, or the teams that are really low in assists tend to be up the top there because there is such a rush for point guards that it can lead to people panicking with those picks, Matt.
Yeah, it can, and like we know that if you want to be strong in assists, you're going to get them early. The only issue that I have if you don't want to be competitive in assists or you're looking at other areas is you really need to make sure you get enough steals and threes elsewhere.
Yep, and I just pissed steals off completely, and I grabbed my threes with Malik Beasley, Duncan Robinson, Will Barton towards the end, Sadiq Bey. Like that's what these guys are going to do. Like all of those guys can hit 2 to 3, probably 3+ in Duncan Robinson's case, to really help build my team out in that category. Plus, it doesn't hurt that Porzingis and Embiid, 2 of my centers, can hit threes too, so that helps in that area. Matt, I reckon we've been going long enough on this podcast. I've kept you long enough. Thank you for jumping in and doing a mock draft here with me, 10-team, 9-category mock draft. If you are watching this down below, well, not if you're watching it down below, if you are watching this, in a comment below, tell us which team you like the best, but also tell me what you want my next mock draft to be. Like what sort of style mock draft do you want? Or one of the upcoming ones, let me know in the comments. Some people have said, Josh, can you do a 20-team salary cap draft that has 3-point percentage, assist to turnover ratio, offensive rebounds, because that's what my league is. I'm not going to do something that specific, but if you give me an idea of what sort of mock you want next, Matt, people can follow you over on Twitter at SManSports as always, and check out all of your written stuff at basketballmonster.com. Thanks again for coming on.
Anytime, Josh. Thank you.
And that'll do it for today's show. Follow this podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on that Odyssey app on YouTube. Comments below. You already told you what to comment, so drop it down below. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, follow, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. If I can find the button.